Duperas y Duperas, today on Dupe by the River, we're going to look back at Saturday night's beatdown against Columbus in the season opener. And we're going to look ahead at this upcoming Saturday as your boys in blue will be down in South Florida facing off against Inter Miami. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't dare go anywhere because you do not want to miss this episode of Dupe by the River. And let's get it started, guys. And done it! Dupe by the River
doesn't do anything well. There is not one.
I'm sorry. There was no creativity.
As a Union fan, I take that all day.
Another DP. We need to go get Mario Balotelli.
And that is right. Welcome, everyone, to Dupe by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union. And, of course, we are brought to you by Philly Sports Network. Before we dive into today's episode of Dupe by the River, welcome on in, everyone. Thank you so much. If you are tuning on in live on El Parcero Philly's YouTube channel, make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe for more of these live viewings of Dupe by the River. Of course, you can find us wherever you stream podcasts as well, from Apple, Google, and Spotify. Find us under Dupe by the River Podcast. And hello to whoever's watching from the Twitter account as well. And let's introduce our experts in duping here tonight. So let's start off with our guy, Mr. Tim Lovingooth. Tim, what's going on, brother? How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's the week has gone by pretty quickly, honestly. We're back into the regular season now, where we have to wait a whole week for the next match. But for me, it's going by pretty quick, and almost the weekend already. I'm ready to go.
We'll wait till next week because we're gonna have our first of the double headers, two matches in 1 week, brother. So it's gonna be happening quick here, Tim.
I'm here for it. I'm here.
Yes, we all are. And then, of course, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on in Mr. Justin Curtin, Anger Translator Friedberg. I love it. What's up, brother? How you feeling, man?
As I said, it just tired, man. It was a heck of a weekend. The home opener for those who made it out to the
how'd that go?
SOB tailgate, which new space. It went really well. Shouts to our friends at the EPL boys. JD showed up with his lovely girlfriend to the tailgate, so I got to meet her, and it was a nice time. And Tim and I back in our usual spot, and just feeling like we picked up right where we left off, and it just feels like home,
No, 110%. And I put the picture out there, but it was the first thing I did, right, once everyone came in. So obviously, for those who don't know, I got my press pass. I was there as a photographer, videographer. So once everyone started showing up in the crowd, the first thing I did was I looked at 139 just to make sure Tim and Justin were there. Justin in his orange cap. The orange cap is here to start off the season. And Tim had the nice. He was looking a little bit like cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation with that. He looked nice and warm. It was a cold night.
Yeah,
it was a cold night, guys. But for sure, the good part about it is we got the W, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. I do want to say hello to some in the comment section. We got one world, one goal. What is going on, my brother? ¿Qué a usted? Peter will have on a little bit later from Football Miami TV, but he's an OG Fusion fan, so he's been showing some love. That's pretty dope, and he's now following Inter Miami. We got Kala. Yeah, we'll talk about that Torres goal or Torres assist for sure. I was definitely sick, absolutely. But gentlemen, let's get into that matchup, right? 4-1 victory here for the Philadelphia Union. 2 goals by Gazak off the PK, 2 goals off from Julian Carranza. Same lineup as we talked about in the preview show. Blake in goal, Wagner, Glezis, Elliott, and Bizo. Flock in the left, and Brujo at the 6. Ali at the right. Daniel Gazak at tip. Your 2 forwards, Urre and Carranza. And gentlemen, it was a great performance. They literally picked up where they left off last year. So we'll start off with you, Tim, man. Your biggest takeaway from Saturday night.
I think my biggest takeaway is that it's just another year where the Union find a way to win a game in which they weren't the best team for the 90 minutes. Like I still think the Crew were the better team on the day. Like they came in to Chester and like they knew how they wanted to play under Nanze, and they implemented it even without their first choice starting 11. But the Union still came out and punched them in the mouth in the second half and got those goals. And we can talk about the handballs all we want, and if they were or weren't handballs. But hey, Daniel Gazdag came in, stepped in, took both pens and hit them. So 4-1 on opening weekend, you can't really be mad about it. But I think that's my biggest takeaway is that they won the game even though they weren't looking 100% their best for the 90 minutes. And that's how you have to be if you want to win trophies, is you still have to find ways to beat other good teams and by a few goals, even when you're not playing your best.
Absolutely. And was I the only one? I'm trying not to be pessimistic whatsoever, but was I the only one when Gazdag went up for the first PK? Did you guys get any flashbacks to MLS Cup at all? Or was I the only one?
No, I think I said to Tim in that moment, like, I mean, Gazdag was the Union's best PK taker last year.
Yeah.
Like, he converted everyone he took. I think for him and Curtin, I don't think Curtin lets the players decide that, but I think everyone knows that slip, it was, unfortunate. There's not a lot you can do, but if in any moment I want someone with a game on the line or whatever it is to take that PK, Daniel Gazdag is always my first person, 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why it stung last year for sure, because he's just so sure with those PKs. But hey, it's a new season. What's up, any East Sports? What's going on? Union got a solid team. They will remain consistent all year and have a shot at the MLS Cup. That's what we're hoping here for, buddy. As absolutely we're hoping for. Justin, were those handballs?
So I'm kind of split. One I thought was, and one I thought wasn't. Okay. The one in the first half felt like more of a handball because if you look at where his arm is, it is kind of away from his body. It's not like chicken wing, but it's to the point where the rules are anything that makes your body bigger, regardless if it's in a natural position, that's where the law is not. It's not intent anymore. They got rid of that, which I am glad they got rid of intent, because intent on a handball is like, unless you're on the goal line and it's an automatic red, there's no way to signal intent. The second one, maybe it was just the replay angles. They're like, I still couldn't see anything. Because it deflected over the net, so like it must have been his arm was kind of extended out. It was. I mean, if I saw an angle, I'd say maybe, but it was definitely one was and one wasn't. It just until I would see the second one, which the highlight angles don't exactly paint a great picture. No. The second one, it's kind of tough to tell, but at least one of them definitely was.
Oh, listen, I it's obviously the rule. It is kind of what it is. It's kind of a little skewed, but I do think at the end of the day, those were handballs. Tim, what I wanted to ask you, because for me, the midfield as a whole, it's tough to call like one player an MVP, because I really felt like the midfield was just, again, another cohesive unit that was just dominating all throughout the match. Everyone talks about the Joaquin goal, which we'll talk about in a second, but if it wasn't for Brujo picking the pocket of Zela Rayan, we probably wouldn't be talking about it. For you, man, like, dude, what'd you see from that midfield?
They just picked up where they left off. I mean, it's crazy to think that this Union team has the same starting 11 as they did last year in MLS Cup, but they do. They have it. Like, and those guys, they were up for it. I think Columbus was still better in the first half. They were kind of moving the ball around pretty well, but yeah, like, Brujo stepped it up. He had a pretty good game. He always has this one thing that gets at me, and I'm not going to be like Zach and call him out like all, but there's times where like the ball comes to him and he can like clear the ball and all he has to do is just like smash that ball out of there, which he's gonna do anyways. But he'll like volley it. He'll like move his body sideways and like try to like scissor kick it out. And I'm like, I saw him do that at least once. And like, you get some oohs and ahs from the crowd, but the ball just goes up and then it doesn't. The striker can't get on it or anything like that. But that was the one thing from him. Like, oh, he's still doing that. It's like when he shoots from like 30 yards away, and I'm like, hey, don't do that. But other than that, midfield as a group, I mean, like Leon Floch played really well. Bedoya looked good. He played a whole lot longer than I wanted him to play. But every time we start talking about that in the stands, like in the back of my head, I keep thinking about how Jim Curtin always talks about like the analytics and the stuff that the guys wear, and like on the benches they're seeing how much they've ran, like how hard they're running, like certain things like that. So every time everyone's like, "Why is he still in there?" I'm like, "Well, it still has to be okay, right?" Because they're all looking at it, and I don't know. There's nothing bad you can say about the midfield, honestly. They're just I think they're the best midfield in MLS, and the way that they play, it's kind of hard to debate that right now.
Yeah, I mean, I retweeted that little graphic that I don't know I've never seen that Twitter account, but it was really good. Like he really demonstrated and showed kind of the tactics from Saturday. And
yeah,
dude, that shape, that timing, you're not breaking that up. Like you're not breaking up that shape, and the way they just move as a unit all throughout. It's really big. Everyone talks about the amount of goals we put up, but there's a reason why we got to that many goals, and it was truly it's been truly fun. I can't wait to watch more of it. Tim, to Brujal's point, it was so funny because the one opportunity where he hit that shot low when Schultz was out of position from goal, and the guy right behind me, he's like, "And Brujal always rockets a shot, and the one time he hits it low."
I mean, the one time he hits it low, it was like deflected out, and it was kind of like an actually decent shot. Yeah, I'll give him that. I'll give him that.
Absolutely. Justin, you know who else was really impressive? But again, we won't see in the stat sheet was Urre. Again, like last year, we talked about in the group chat the goal scoring. It's not like last year. I think he had like 11, 13 goals, but his off the ball is so big, whether it be in the attack or whether it be trying to win the ball back. What did you see from Urre on Saturday night, man?
So I started looking, because me being the giant nerd I am, I started looking into some of the analytics, and Joe Tanzi kind of made a great graphic on one play in particular that shows Ua's effectiveness. It was on the shot that Daniel Gazdag ended up getting deflected that kind of petered out. But if you looked at that chance, Ua makes a direct run down the center, pulls two defenders with him, gives Gazdag enough space to at least get the shot off. And I think and I had this discussion actually earlier with some people today, the biggest difference between what Ua brings and say what Sergio brought is his runs have a purpose.
Yeah.
They are designed to, one, go right down the heart of the defense. And I think that's the biggest difference between him and Sergio is Sergio's runs were always kind of put him at weird angles. So his shots always kind of petered out, and it never really looked great. Once in a blue moon, he'd make that run down the center. And if you look at Ua, he gets himself in those chances. Now, sometimes the goalie comes up with a great save, but Ua tends to get that ball quickly at his feet. And, I think with the back three, that kind of limited the spaces in behind, because essentially without possession, that back three becomes a back five. So that's kind of where you're not going to have as much space. I think looking at Ua knows, and Jim has said it before, that he doesn't always look at the stat sheet as something that indicates, like, Carranza is your prototypical, hold it up, can make those run number 9, someone that can get into the dirty areas. Ua is your straight ahead runner, will make those effective runs, will get into the box, will crash the area, but he's not really going to hold it up. He wants to get on the ball, but he's not going to hold it up. So even, I mean, remember last year there was a moment where he had what, like 23 touches on the ball, and Jim goes, like, with that press conference that week, he goes, yeah, Mikel came to my office and asked how he could get on the ball more, because and I think that shows that Ua is a very intelligent soccer player.
Yeah.
He knows, like, in that game, he wasn't going to get a ton of touches. I think that was kind of the nature of the game. But if you make yourself useful, you make yourself effective, if you're still pulling that defense, you noticed the amount of space that Daniel Gazdag had to run onto.
Yeah.
Was amazing. And one of the prime moments of that was on Julian's first goal. First of all, we talk about El Brujo's not great passing on the ball, but the one thing he does do well is he wins those tackles very well.
Yeah.
And he holds off Zelarayan. I mean, in a thing of like beauty, he just perfectly doesn't foul him, gets the body in the way, turns the ball, throws it right up to Gazdag. Gazdag throws it out to Ali, and Ali swings it in. But if you look, Ua is in that play. He's pulling the defenders. So really, you only had one defender just behind Carranza, and Carranza perfectly bashes the ball into the ground to get it over the goalie. But it's those little things. It's the little things that create the space, that create the chances. And listen, I said this before the season that I think Ua can get 15 goals. Like, I think that's a definite possibility. But I think his uncredited goal contributions are going to be something to watch out for, because whether he gets the assist or not, he's going to be a major reason why a lot of chances are created because of the space that he creates.
Absolutely. Got Jim talking some talk this year. Hope he keeps it up all year long. He's been saying some spicy things lately, which we're all here for. You guys, I'm sure you guys saw the Ted Lasso comments.
Oh yeah,
about fan
I will say,
here.
like, I know Jim usually isn't one to talk, but I can understand his frustration at that comment. I mean, and he's right. The only way that any executive in the league is going to talk is in one of those anonymous stories. It's why, like, when you see the overrated and underrated players, it's always anonymous. And that's where players and executives feel like they're more comfortable. And, like, listen, and I think, what was it? I think it was David Goss, was on the Cooligans on Tuesday and mentioned that, it has to be an Eastern Conference exec, because it's someone that definitely has to face a Union at least twice a season and is just tired of getting their ass kicked in, especially last season and over the last few seasons that Philly has finally become not the punching bag of the East. So
it's probably Bruce Arena again.
Listen, I know Jim's not the usual angry type, but at the end of the day, you know what? I respect Jim for it, because he's not going to say much, but when he does, he's gonna put something to his name on that.
Absolutely, and we always back him up on that one. He speaks his mind when he needs to. That's why people respect him so much, man. I also do want to talk about the assist. Listen, I don't know about you, Justin, but when Joaquin pulled both of those spin moves, I literally had flashbacks to El Sino. I literally just thought of El Sino. And the thing is, like Justin, we talked to, obviously, our friends over at the Balls Round, right? We've heard a little bit about Joaquin Torres, but I didn't think like he had that type of creative ability. And so that was pretty fun to watch. And what a great way to start his Union tenure as well. Your thoughts on Joaquin Torres? What do we have here coming off the bench, bro?
Yeah, I mean, that was within like 30 seconds, like basically his first touch. And
first touch.
You heard the crowd go, oh, and that was me. It was just, oh shit. And then Carranza with it, perfect finish. Listen, Torres isn't going to give you that all the time, but if he's going to be your rotational super sub, occasional starter, you know what? I'll take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because the first touch, that first spin, is essentially just like it's pulling you, it's pulling him around the defender. It's okay, you know what? I need to do this because the ball's kind of getting away from me. I need to do this. The second one on Nagby, which that's easier said than done on Darlington Nagby. That one maybe is a little showing off. Like you get that first one done, and then Nagby's like, okay, there's no way he's going to do it again. Does it again, hesitates. And I think people were like, oh, what? And if you look, he immediately looks up. And that hesitation is just enough for him to slide that ball. And Carranza can't believe his luck because he initially was going to slow down his run and looks and realizes that he's already running onto it and just slots that thing home. And, Tim and I were basically just going, oh, shit, oh, shit, oh, shit. Like, just could not believe it. And I think immediately we thought, oh, my God, is this going to be our super sub? Is this going to be someone that we bring on to ride out games, to bring a change of pace, to break the game open? Because, listen, goal differential, despite, us losing on the tiebreaker of wins, goal differential can mean a lot.
Yeah.
And if you throw Torres on and say it's a 2-1 game and you're just like, you know what, create some havoc, and he creates those chances, yeah, you know what, I'm pretty happy with that. So already, like I said, it's one game, and Eve did say that he can create those situations. It was just for the price that he was brought in, and it was one of those, again, we talk about Carranza at a high price and not exactly being a bust, but maybe just needing a new situation, a new locker room, new vibes. And we've talked about how this locker room can be. I think if if you're Joaquin Torres, you're Damian Lowe, you're Andres Pereira, you look and just go, man, I've walked into a great locker room and we're a good team. Like, I think those two, the fact that that's already knocked is amazing. And Torres, listen, that is one way to endear yourself to the Union faithful. It's just to remind us of those Elsinio super sub cheat code moment days.
Dude, just give him the 25 again. Jeez Louise. It's funny because I was talking to Sporting Serotonin's own Zachary Richmond. And he literally was about to tell him, because he thought he was he didn't think he was a player. He's like, dude, you can't be on the pitch. And he realized that's Joaquin Torres. For anyone who doesn't know, Joaquin's not the tallest mother effer, but that's really what makes him so dangerous.
Is he like Maxi Morales height?
I would assume so.
I gotta look.
He's a little bit taller than that. He's he's our own Messi.
Let's go to Tim. What was your thought, man? Just the first spin move. Just the first spin. What's the reaction?
He is 5'5".
Yeah. So
that's about right. So
yeah,
I can understand Zach. We're both similar heights. We're both a little taller than Joaquin. I can understand the confusion.
I mean, when I saw the spin move, the first spin move, I was like, oh, okay, that's one way to get your first touch for your new club. Go ahead. And the second one, oh, all right, he's feeling himself, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then, the ability to hesitate and find the right pass, and it was a perfect pass. Like you guys already said, Carranza didn't have to do much with it. He just needed to know where he was going to put the ball, and he came right onto his right foot, put it across his body, boom, 4-1. It was perfect. Watching the replays though, and hearing Danny Higginbottom talking about it, the fact that the first spin move was more about his physicality and his ability to get that low center of gravity to spin the defender, and then the second one was all about his skill on the ball and
showing off. That's
showing off. Get around Nagby. And then honestly, watching him hesitate there, I feel like Well, yeah, if you spin 2 times like that, you're gonna be a little dizzy, so you got to take a second, know where you're going, and then play the perfect pass. Like, yeah, he's definitely a game changer, and we'll see what he can do. Um, I was also watching on the replay of it, the Apple TV MLS wrap up, like their nighttime show after all the games are on, and who was it? They had Taylor Twellman was on the first week because he couldn't call the LA game because of the weather. But then they had another ex player. I'm trying to remember who it is. I think it was Nigel Rio Coker. I think that was who it was. But he was saying like he was watching the highlights and he was like, that dude's on the bench. Like that dude's on the bench. Like they have players who are better than that dude on the team. Like how is he on the bench? Like it's just crazy to think how this team has been constructed and the possible cheat code that he could be, that Jack McGlynn could be, that Quinn Sullivan could be coming off the bench. Like it could be a very fun year.
And that's still like I still feel like that is still a question mark with the team exactly what the rotation will look like. We only got one match here. You know, Joaquin was really the only sub that we did have. I think later, close to the end, you had Jack McGlynn come in, Andres Pereira come in. Quinn Sullivan came in the match as well. But, you know, that was my question mark, right? Like, what's this rotation going to look like? Because last year, your first 2 options were Corey Burke and Paxton Aronson. So what's that going to look like here? And for right now, I think that Joaquin solidified his role. He's your 12th guy coming off the bench. He's coming right off the bench as that first sub. And it brings a different dynamic, too, which is great.
Which, can I say, I don't know if anyone saw the quotes from Jim about Julian coming off late and basically like not giving him like the death stare, but like being like why did you take me off? I want that third. And like Jim goes, listen, I know, you know, Julian's a fighter, that he's an absolute workhorse. He's like, but you know, I figured I could save his legs for a couple of minutes. So like, listen, if we already didn't know that Carranza was an absolute animal and wants it all on the field, like that's just like it's not like the you know, that like the pouty, why did you take me off? It's, man, I could have had another one. Like we could keep scoring. Like, are you kidding me? Like, and I'm like, you know what? That's the kind of hustle that could make Carranza, like, even if he's only here another year, because as Jim has said with Carranza, there's no reason that he can't make the jump to Europe. He's again only 22. He is breaking out. If he has another year, he's already on the radar. I think we may only have him for another season or 2 at this point. And you know what? I'm okay with that. But I think the way to endear yourself to the Philadelphia faithful is just working your fucking ass off.
Yeah.
And you know Carranza will always be working his ass off. And that's never going to be the question of hustle or effort with him.
The script flipped really quick for CUCHO Hernandez on Saturday, huh?
Oh my God. As the Germans would say, Schadenfreude, it could not have happened to a better, like, so, okay. So like Tim and I, like, were again, perfectly positioned for that.
Yeah, you were right there.
He was shushing us, like, really, is what he was doing.
It didn't even look like anyone touched it, which, again, it was an own goal. No one touched it. And, like, as you say, like, there's a time to shush the crowd. In the first half of the first half.
Of the first game.
Yeah, of the first game.
He was wrong.
Literally not the moment. And you know what? If I'm the Union, it's like, it's the Michael Jordan. I saw that, and I took it personally.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we talked about it. Yeah, as Tim said, the Union weren't the better team in the first half. But after that goal, I would say towards the end of the first half, they started turning it on. The Columbus Crew for the first half of the first half, yes, we're absolutely the better team. But after that 30-minute mark, you saw the Union flip the script and show why they are one of the better teams in the MLS. And listen, I have some Crew fans, you know, from Crew friends, and I love them to death. But the moment that CUCHO got booked for the simulation, and it was, oh my God, it was bad. Like the ref had perfect view of it, saw the jump, and didn't even hesitate. And every time that happened, and this is why you left Philadelphia, it was, CUCHO, shut the fuck up. Like, I listen, and that's why I was in on it too, and that's why I love Philadelphia. Like,
go back to Ohio.
it's like, you fuck around, you're gonna find out. And I just, like, to me, it's like, why the fuck would you do that in the first half? And not even the first half, in the first half of the first half. Like, it's like, last time I checked, I didn't think Crew and the Union were really, quote unquote, a rivalry. Although now, based on the numbers that MLS's Wild had provided, I believe that's now 6 in a row, quote unquote, unbeaten for the Union against the Crew.
Now we have to win in Columbus.
Yeah.
Well, I think we drew the last time, but still 6 unbeaten. Like, you know what? Like I said, not a rivalry. At this point, I don't give two shits who's a rival, who's not. Like,
I just think it's so weird that CUCHO shushed a crowd on a ball that he would have had an assist for, but then it turned out to be an own goal. Like, he didn't score a banger and then go shush the crowd in the first half.
Yeah, he got lucky on that goal.
He put in, it was a good cross. It was a deceiving cross, but he put in a cross that got deflected, that went in, and then he's all celebrating with the team, and then you see the team kind of leave, and then he just stays there and starts shushing the crowd and doing some kind of hand gesture. I don't know. It was very odd.
Like, it just didn't it didn't make a ton of sense. Like, and if you look at the play, like, Andre still almost had it. Like, it was one of those, he got with his foot, and on a normal day, if he sees that earlier, because he kind of had to play the middle, because that
maybe if it wasn't so cold out there, he would have been able to get over to it a little bit quicker or something.
Yeah, I think that, like, you kind of have to play not necessarily as close to near post, because you want to give yourself the opportunity to come across. But, like, again, the fact that was the only goal that beat Andre Blake, and it wasn't even scored by Columbus. Like, I think that shows that Columbus really did not press the Union for anything big. Like, once that first 25, 30 minutes petered out, the Crew were literally held in check. There was not much going that, the remaining 55, 60 minutes.
Absolutely, man. Listen, as someone who has appreciation for CUCHO, he screwed up. He straight up screwed up on Saturday, man. So we'll see what happens later on in the year when we face off against him. But gentlemen, match 2. You guys ready? You guys ready for second match?
Absolutely.
So we got our old friends down south. David Beckham FC as my guy, the Philly sports guy, would say. It's going to be an interesting one down there. As always, guys, we like to give you guys the perspective of the other end. So what we're going to show you guys, it is a pre-recording, but we want to thank our friends over at Futbol Miami TV. So without further ado, guys, to help us preview the Inter Miami match, please welcome Pieter Brown from Futbol Miami TV. Enjoy, guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining us now here on the guest line from down there in Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. Please welcome from Futbol Miami TV, Mr. Pieter Brown. Pieter, what's going on, man? Long time no see. How you feeling, brother?
Everything's good down here. Nice and warm down here. I'm sure it's a little chilly up there still, but it's like 87 degrees down here. It's great.
Rub it in our face, Pieter. Rub it. So, Pieter, last Saturday in a run against Columbus was my first match with my press pass as a videographer, which was really dope. But Pieter, I could not feel my feet after the 70th minute. So I definitely felt that comment you made, man, because I could use some warm weather right now.
Yeah, I'm sure. But at least a 4-1 win, the warmth warm you up a little bit.
Yeah, man, Pieter, you know me. I love my Colombians. Seeing CUCHO get in the run of the trash talk from the Rivers End was definitely a little funny. I was a little conflicted there. That's for sure, Pieter.
Yeah, I watched it. It was good.
Nothing. There's never a dull moment in the MLS, Pieter. Never a dull moment, man. But Pieter, I guess before we get into this iteration of Miami, I wanted to talk because I feel like every, like, let's say 3 to 6 months, right? You get the Messi, Inter Miami, the connection. So obviously you're my guy down in Miami. What for you personally? I want to get your personal opinion. Will this happen this season? Will Messi be a member of Inter Miami, or when will that happen if it does?
I mean, all signs point to maybe. So, but everything we're hearing is just more and more positive. I know the ownership is very positive. They feel like they are in a good position, and they've put a good argument in front of him. Everybody, pretty much knows he hasn't signed yet with PSG, and they've got their own financial problems that they've got to deal with. So, they may not be able to sign him. So all signs point to, it's a good possibility that he and Busquets would be coming this summer.
Yeah, bring Barcelona over to Miami. I'm sure there's a huge Miami population that would absolutely love that. I do want to ask Peter, because listen, you guys have not got away from spending money on European stars or European big names. Is there any reluctancy to you with doing this again? I mean, obviously Messi, listen, probably the best of all time after what happened this past winter, but you guys have done this road before.
So I'm not a fan of going after the old guys. That's one thing that this ownership does like to go after the stars, and those guys tend to be a little bit older. Messi is that exception. Everybody would take Messi. Even Jim Curtin would take Messi.
I would take
everybody.
Messi, yeah.
Everybody would take him. So Busquets, I don't know. He's like somebody I don't. How much is he going to run, and stuff like that. I have concerns there. But Messi, I have zero concerns. I think he would tear up. I think it would probably find it a little more difficult than most foreign players that come in here, and they find that it's a little more difficult than they expected. But I mean, it's Messi. So people down here are so excited for it to happen that I actually saw last year. I saw people with Inter Miami shirts, Messi on the back. People are already getting his name on the back of their shirts. So they want it to happen. There were some tickets for this upcoming game this weekend in the cheap seats, right? And they were like $9 seats at Drive Pink Stadium. They're almost giving away some seats. Imagine what that dollar value will be of those tickets if and when Messi comes here.
Peter, it's not even just Miami. If they come to Philadelphia, they come to Chester, we're going to sell out because that's just who Messi is. I think when we had Ibra in the MLS, the 2018 season, Galaxy comes to Chester. Rainy night. It's an ugly night. All you saw was Milan, PSG, Man U, kits all throughout Subaru Park, back then Talent Energy. So as a league, you just bring Messi. It doesn't matter where he plays, you bring him in here. And if you're Miami, of course, you definitely have to do it. It definitely is interesting. I'm with you, obviously, because I witnessed what the Union have been doing. So I'm right there with you on that one. But when you're talking about one of the best of the sport, you got to do it. That's an absolute fact.
And right now, we get the feeling down here. I don't know if it's reality, but we get the feeling that Miami's kind of a hated team. I mean, we did cheat, but got caught. So, we're kind of a hated team. I think at least that's our perception. And I think that would definitely change with Messi. I mean, sure, people are still going to hate us and hate us more, but you're going to see a lot more people wearing that pink Messi shirt in Philly and in LA, in Columbus. Everywhere we go would become a home game because of one person.
It's a little bit of maybe bitter jealousy because you guys are listening. You're still a pretty new club, and you got Ronaldo, Messi, Griezmann all linked to you. And for a lot of clubs, especially like the 1.0, 2.0 MLS clubs, they're like, "What the heck? These guys just arrived." But I mean, it's Miami, guys. You really can't compete too much with Miami there. So I absolutely agree that those kits are going to sell for sure. But
Miami weather and Miami vistas, where you might look out from your condo. It's not a hard sell. It's not a hard sell. Now, granted, where they're playing is far away from Miami in an industrial park area, and it's not exactly great, beautiful views. But Miami Freedom Park will come someday. They'll build it, although Messi will never play in it because it's going to take a good 3-4 years. So he won't ever probably play in that stadium, I would imagine. But still, Miami's not a hard sell. It is kind of funny how, and we get tired of it too, that every single player is linked to Miami. It's like, enough already. Let's stop with the rumors, even though the rumors are fun. Stop with the rumors until it's a little more serious. Now, the Messi thing has legs, right? So it makes sense to get excited about that, talk about it. But, so every player, everywhere, we're linked to.
That's just the life of an Inter Miami fan. But let's get to this iteration of Inter Miami.
Yeah.
It is interesting. What you guys in the offseason does intrigue me, and I want to get your thoughts on it. But obviously, the main guys that you brought up, Josef Martinez and Kristaps, the Ukrainian defender, I think were the big ones here for you. I do love the Josef one because I felt like your roster, you guys are going in the right direction. You're bringing in some young players, trying to build that core. And then you bring in a Josef who's had success in the league. I was a huge fan of that. And obviously, I think I was really critical when, obviously was happy to have Damian Lowe. But I was just curious of why you guys got rid of him because I felt like he was one of your better defenders, but then you bring in Kristaps. So, question number one here is, what is the difference from last year's Inter Miami team to this year's Inter Miami team?
Well, we think we've upgraded our defense because, look, I'm a big Damian Lowe fan. I think last year sometimes I was the Damian Lowe apologist. He got trashed on social media. People didn't like him. Meanwhile, I'm watching him, and he was our best defender. Did he make some boneheaded mistakes sometimes that would cause a goal? Sure. But he saved a ton of goals as well. He is a good defender. But we definitely had a defensive problem. And so they tried to solve it. Won't know. It's only one game, but so far, one game in, Kristaps looks like he's dictating the defense. He's not the new guy that's quiet. He was a captain in his country, so he's used to kind of taking charge back there. And you watched him kind of moving people around and kind of being a captain in the back there. So that was good. And then they upgraded the left with Negri. At least we think it's an upgrade, right? Hopefully he pans out to be a really good player. So there's some upgrade there, and that's I guess why Damian Lowe had to go. The biggest difference, though, is the problem with this team is the fact that we lost Alejandro Pozuelo. Pozuelo was the difference maker for us last year. He's the one that unlocked Higuain. Higuain sucked before Pozuelo came. And so he unlocked him. And so that's our biggest problem. So now it's who's going to play that number 10. And so far it seemed like after one game, it's kind of number 10 by committee. Different people are kind of roaming into that role, roaming in and out. And between Pizarro and Stefanelli and Coco Jean kind of going in and around there. But with Josef, we have high hopes for him. But if nobody's getting him the ball, well, it's going to feel a little bit like maybe like an Higuain.
That's a good point there. It's interesting you bring up the distributor, the 10, the attacking midfielder there. But, you guys did bring back Pizarro, which I was honestly happy to see because I really thought his game would translate well into the MLS. I saw you guys line him up as kind of like an 8 on the left-hand side there.
Yeah, he was everywhere, though. So he would play. He'd play in that 8 role, but then he would drift into the center and kind of take over the 10 for a few plays here or there, and he just kind of goes with the flow. I like Pizarro, but clearly it didn't work in year one, and then again, nothing worked. So how much is it really his fault? But then he gets sent to Mexico, still didn't work for him. So he's come back humbled, and people were not real thrilled that he's back.
Okay.
He wasn't super popular.
Any reason in particular? Just play or just the person?
Yeah, just his style of play. He holds on to the ball a lot. But and that's one I've seen him now in what 3 games. So we had 2 preseason games that we were able to view, and then this last game. So he seems to be distributing the ball more, not holding on to it too much. And you can't complain about his effort. His effort is always
that's good.
Great. But he's just not the DP level that he's getting paid. What a lot of us wanted the team to do is buy him out. But they didn't. But there is that buyout rule. And that buyout rule previously was you have to use the once a year you could buy out a player. You had to do it before the season launched. You had to do it before the roster cut time. Now, do it in the middle of the year. I think it's before the secondary transfer window. I think is which I think we're calling here the Messi rule, because it just seems to make sense. You can keep Pizarro here. If he works out, great. If he doesn't, you buy him out and you bring in Messi. I mean, Messi would come in anyways. It just makes it easier if you buy Pizarro out. It just makes it easier to find the space, the DP spot. We have one DP spot available. So we could bring in, say, a Messi in the summer, but you'd have to get Busquets on a TAM. Mm-hmm. But if he's pushing for money, then you need to buy out Pizarro. They could do that in the summer.
Just take a page out of LA's book, Peter.
Still wonder how they did that.
You and me both. You and me both, man. So back to the defense real quick. It is interesting what you said. So for you personally, do you see the problems with the defense last year and this year a little bit with the talent that you have or the system?
I think it was playing some people out of position. So you had Lowe and you had McVay, who everybody here felt like McVay's best position, and even the coach would say this, his best position was in center back, and we had him playing on left. So he's out of position. And then, like I said, Lowe is good, not great. I like him. And so, we got two upgrades, and yeah, some of it could be system. I mean, they're playing in more of a diamond formation now in the midfield, which I don't know if that helps the defense or not. I guess we'll find out. It's still so early, but they want to play with two forwards, but unfortunately, we've got issues with people getting hurt. We've got Robbie Robinson that's always hurt. We like to call him Mr. Glass, and then now Campana is hurt, so he won't be playing against you guys this weekend.
Oh, really? That's okay. Out. Okay.
I mean, I'll be shocked if he plays, but all indications are he's out.
Do we know what the injury is at all, or?
I think it was a calf injury.
Got it.
And so he's week to week.
I really want to see Campana as well this week. You always want to see the best 11 out there for the opposing team. Especially in the regular season. So I'll be interesting to see. That is for sure. So what? So I think I saw last against Montreal. You guys started. Was it Jean?
Coco Jean and Joseph played up top. Although seemed like a good portion of the time, Jean would pull back and it'd be Joseph mostly up top. But I mean, they lined up with the two of them up top.
So, but the distribution is still a problem, Peter, huh?
I think so. I mean, they did okay. I mean, but. Okay. It's a hard barometer because Montreal has been good. They've been very good, but they've lost some of their better players. They lost their coach. They're a damaged club right now. So did we, just win the game we were supposed to win? Or did we actually beat a good team? I guess this weekend when we play against you guys we'll find out what I'm afraid of is how bad are we going to lose, right? So that's what I'm afraid of. I don't want Carranza coming back into Drive Pink and lighting it up, scoring 2 goals like he did last week.
That is very, very true. So year later, how are we feeling about that move, letting us have Carranza?
I didn't really love it, but then again at the time it was like, well, he's not working out. It just shows that a lot of times it's not the player, it's the system, it's the surroundings, it's something related to this one place, because he clearly has the talent. And I was just, before coming on with you, I was reading some comments from Jim Curtin saying he could play anywhere. He thinks that, there could be like some sort of summer sale for him. He'll be fighting off suitors, all that kind of stuff. I mean, those were the plans that Miami had for this kid. Sign him young, sell him, and sell him after a couple of years. But we gave him away. Peter, gave him away to somebody in our own division. That's worse.
That's always the rough part about it. I obviously don't know what exactly happened in Miami, But from what I know from here in Philadelphia, listen, it's a place where you can develop. There's people, there's other players who are in the same spot that he was in. He obviously had the talent. I think that the coaching and just the dressing room around him really was elevated. I mean, he was out there, he was able to play the way he did, and Gazdak just distributing the ball like he's a point guard out there.
That helps. And there were some locker room problems here in South Florida that he may have gotten caught up in. And that was the big thing that Phil Neville, the coach, would talk about, is getting that right. You know, everybody else is trying to talk tactics, and he's talking about team morale and setting up a certain ethos within the team. All that kind of stuff was super important to him, because there was division. I mean, just as an example, Pizarro and Higuain did not like each other. And it was did not like each other. So no surprise that neither of them did really very well. And Pizarro, I guess, did worse between the two. But
That's so big, Peter. It's funny because you were talking about that diamond midfield. That's something that we really made a staple here in Philadelphia, and it's because they move literally as a unit. It is so compact. We ran a little bit of a mid block against Columbus. They got through a couple times, but it was just so hard for Columbus, even with Cucho, even with Lucas Elrayan, even with Matan. They kind of break down that mid block, and it's because of the mind that the gym has set in. They fight for one another. They play as a cohesive unit, and that, like you said, it sometimes can be way more important than tactics. You could talk tactics all you want, but if these guys aren't giving it their all for each other, that doesn't even matter at that point. So
yeah, it reminds me of, and I'm sure you had to have heard of this quote that just came out in the Athletic about a week ago, where they talked to a bunch of the Athletic talked to a bunch of executives within the league, and one of the executives, I forgot the exact quote, was basically saying they're not that effing good.
Yeah,
Philadelphia, they're just not that good, but yet somehow they end up winning, and they've got their way. But it just frustrated this one executive, because you guys just, in his mind, aren't any good, but yet you somehow find a way. And it's just kind of funny. It reminds me of back in the days of the Miami Fusion.
I like that. Go back. I like that.
With the Miami Fusion, the last year of our existence, you had Ray Hudson as the head coach, Diego Serna, Colombian up top, who was a bit of a problem child, Jim Rooney in the middle, and a bunch, a good squad. But they were the season winners, the Shield. They won the Shield, Quarter Shield. Couldn't remember the name. And so they were a team. We got shut down. All those players went to different clubs. None of them were as good in their new clubs as they were in, because that's the right combination. The right coach was able to figure out the right combination, get the right team morale, and just the right pieces in the right places. And so that, I guess that may be kind of a similar situation with Philadelphia. Each individual may not be an amazing player. I mean, you guys don't spend any money on payroll either. And so you're doing it the hard way, but somehow doing it.
You know what it is too, Peter? And I do lump your club into this as well. A lot of clubs, when they're trying to put a good team together, they're looking at number 10s. They're looking at strikers who could put 30 goals away. But like what Ernst Tanner did right when he got to Philadelphia, he established the defense. And every year that was the emphasis, defense, defense, defense. We've been one of the best defensive teams over the past couple of years. And so when I see clubs spending big money, like Toronto, spending big money on Lorenzo Insigne and Bernardeschi, and building that core, that structure of defense, that's why we've been pretty successful. The goals have started to come now because you bring in guys like eventually Carranza eventually and Urre eventually. But I don't get why more clubs don't try to build a stronger defense structure instead of trying to buy big goal scores. And that's just me personally with the direction of our league.
But not only that, if I've got this right, I mean, you guys have one of the best academies too.
Yes,
and you have
that's important too,
lot
for sure.
of homegrown players within that club. So people like to talk about how great Philadelphia is now, but you guys sucked for a long time.
Yes,
so
mightily.
It took a while for this system to kind of get into place, and then for it to start working. So you guys took the long path. You didn't spend big money on players, and you've done it kind of maybe the more homegrown way. and it's working. And you're hearing of other clubs wanting to do this. I think Columbus was saying that they want to do something similar.
Yeah.
You guys handed it to them, but you showed them what it's like, how it's done. But I think could be the right way to go, but it is a long haul. And there's definitely risk if you don't get it right, because you're not spending any splashy kind of money because sometimes one splashy player can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, in our case, it hasn't.
Well, you got baby Beckham over in Brentford too, so you guys are good for now. You guys got a lot. When I saw the crap people were giving baby Beckham, like, dude, come on, man. Number one, he was doing well in USL too, if I'm not mistaken, with Inter Miami.
He was.
I mean, yeah, he may have the name, but it's not like he wasn't playing well for him to get a shot in England.
The problem with him, it wasn't just Romeo Beckham, it was also Harvey Neville. So we've got two kids from within the organization playing, and so the nepotism is strong here in Miami. And that bugs people. And Harvey, he got on the field in the game against Montreal. So he's working his way into the team. Now, neither one of them were handed starting spots. Now that's nepotism. But their names definitely gave them an opportunity, gave them a shot. And so, you work with what you're given. And so, yeah, people weren't thrilled with Beckham here, but they're not thrilled with Harvey either. So
okay. Real quick, any tactical changes this season? I think last year you guys, if you guys didn't put a pass last year, if I'm mistaken.
Say that again. I'm sorry, you were breaking up.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the tactics this year, have they changed at all?
Well, the biggest change is Phil Neville says we're playing with two up top. And last year we rarely did that. And he's pretty adamant about wanting to do that. That's the biggest change. But we'll see how it goes. The diamond thing he's done, we did that a little bit last year as well. So it's not foreign, but we'll see if they can stick with two at the top. It didn't really stick with it in the Montreal game. It just the natural flow of the game, people end up dropping off a little bit, but he's pretty adamant about playing two at the top. So I think that's really the biggest change. And like I said, how they distribute the ball may be different just because we don't have that Pozuelo. And I'm going to keep hammering on that because I was mad that they did not bring him back.
Oh man, I feel you. I feel you on that. Expectations this year for Miami.
For me, it's like slightly better than last year. I don't think, unless again, if Messi comes in and we're in a decent spot. So if we're in the first half of the year competitive, and then comes in and makes a big difference if he can. Sometimes you come in the summer, you don't make much of a difference. So if he comes in, maybe he makes a big difference in a short period of time, and then we could talk about being one of the upper echelon teams. But now, the way the team is built right now, I think we got into the playoffs. In the sixth spot, I think it was. So I think we're talking 5. I know the team wants to be in the 4th spot at least. They want to host a home playoff game.
That's big.
Well, now everybody will host one, I guess, in the first round.
Yeah, that's true.
But you want to be in control of that situation in case there's 3 games. You have 2 home games.
Exactly.
So, but me personally, I think they're just slightly better if people can stay healthy. If Joseph can, what version of Joseph do we have? So do we have the Joseph that broke all the records, or do we have the one that was fighting with the coach and not scoring quite as much? Time will tell as far as which version we have.
That's a good point. Last year, Peter, I was hoping and I really thought you guys were going to beat NYCFC in the playoffs. There's no way they're going to lose to NYCFC in Citi Field, not Yankee Stadium, Citi Field. Come on.
Yeah, I mean I know that everybody likes to complain about that field because it's smaller and all that kind of stuff. So, but those are just excuses. They just didn't do it. But they weren't great last year. So I think we ended where we should. They turned it around in the middle part of the year and things got better. But we didn't start off well. Just the fact that we beat Montreal was huge for us because it is our first home open win.
Yes,
that we've had. because we start slow so far. So I was expecting to lose, but we didn't.
And you got the 3 points. 3 points to start off the season. That's always great. Lineups, the potential lineups on Saturday. What could they look like against the Union?
I think you're going to see the same basic team that you saw last week. So see, Martinez up top. You never know. Maybe they give this kid Borgelin a shot since he scored. Did they reward him with
Former
a start?
Union product?
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. I mean, he's North Lauderdale product that went to Philadelphia Union Academy because we didn't have an academy at the time. So, but I'm curious to see if they put him in. But I think you basically see the same. You think you see Stefanelli in the middle, Jean maybe up top, or Borgelin, or Lassiter even. So it really does depend on how the coach is feeling at that time up top. But I think the rest of the players are basically whatever played last week. I think is where he's going to end up. I hope that I would love to see Duke get a start. I'm a big fan of Duke, but he's probably coming off the bench. He makes a difference when he comes in the midfield. He's a 10 in the making.
Okay. That's one thing I noticed last week against Montreal. You guys got some good production from some of the bench pieces that came off for you guys. It's definitely huge, man.
I think depth has improved a little bit this year, so that's good as well. And some of those people like Bryce Duke, who came in super young, he's got a year under his belt. He's seasoned. He got a lot of playing time last year. So
that's always big, Peter. That's always big. All right, Peter, the nitty-gritty time. Predictions. And, of course, since this is a Union podcast, the key for the Union to beat your Miami squad.
It's so early in the season. It's hard to think about the key, right? Because last year I probably told you guys to high press because you just put a little pressure on us and we give the ball away. But I think we're a little more composed. Okay. So as far as shutting us down, as far as giving, cutting out squeeze the midfield, and we won't have as much. They're going to have to go out wide a lot. And that they tend to want to play through the middle a little bit more this year. It seems like, they could go out wide and, we've got some height. Borgelin is 6'4" if he plays. So that's good. But I'm not, it's really early. It's hard to predict exactly the keys to beating us, but afraid that we're going to lose. I don't want to predict that we're going to lose because that's just not what you should do as a fan, right? You should always pick your team to win, but it's a 2-1 maybe, you guys. I hate to say it, but probably it's just realistic. I think our defense is better, but I think a great result would be a tie because then we kind of look at Philly is one of the top ranked team in the league right now. You guys are ranked number 1 in the power rankings, and everybody expects you guys to win some trophies this year. So if we could get a tie, man, that's a win.
Absolutely. I think the midfield is really important too, Peter. I mean, last week, that was to me the big key in that victory, the way they controlled the match. And so if you could somehow get past that, I mean, you might have a chance on Saturday for sure.
And I'll tell you, I thought Crew played pretty good until, the goals started coming in. And then it's like, well, it's not going to end. Looked good. I thought, wow, maybe this new coach is instilled something very, very quickly. But then when the wheels fell off, they really fell off.
You surprised Nagby's still he doesn't look like he's aged at all. He's still quick, I was so impressed. I just can't believe at that age he still moves like that. It's wild, man. It is wild. But it is what it is. But Mr. Peter, man, seriously, thank you so much for coming back on here, man. We love Football Miami TV up here in Philadelphia. But for the people who aren't familiar, where can they find the great work?
At Futbol Miami TV, Futbol, as in a Latino would write it. So on YouTube, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. But we're there on YouTube. We do this type of show every Sunday night at 7 p.m. And we get a lot of people from all over the league joining into the conversation, just finding it fun to listen in and have. We're very interactive with the people that are watching live. So we like to talk to the people in the chat room quite a bit. We take calls. Actually, we put up a video just today that I think could be helpful to anybody, anywhere, that is a MLS season pass. We did like a video for people that are having some troubles with the app, as far as how do you get a full replay, how do you remove the scores, any kind of little thing like that with the MLS season pass. I saw so many people having issues with it, so we did a little tech tutorial, and so that video is up on Futbol Miami TV, where we just walk you through it. We walk you through it.
If Apple TV doesn't hire you guys, I swear to God, that's awesome, Peter.
Dude, I love Apple so much. I got everything Apple. I should work for Apple. My God.
Everything is Apple.
I got everything Apple.
It makes everything so much to that, that's for sure. Well, Peter, listen, you enjoyed the match Saturday no matter what happens. And seriously, peace. All right, guys, that is our interview with Pieter Brown. Thank you so much, Pieter Brown, and our boys over down at Futbol Miami TV. Yeah, so it should be interesting. I did take a couple things away from it, but Tim, we'll start off with you, man. What'd you take away from the interview with Pieter? Tim, you're muted there.
Of course I am, because it's 2023 and I'm still acting like it's 2020. No, I was just gonna say, I feel like the biggest takeaway for me was the fact that I didn't realize that Leo Campana was still hurt. I knew he was hurt last week, but I wasn't like paying that close attention.
Yeah, it was like right before the game, I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, like that's huge. I think. I mean, they still have Joseph, and like Pieter was saying, their team seems a little bit more compact, and we'll see if Brojolin comes in there and is actually wants to score against us. But that'll be an interesting storyline if he comes in and Carranza starts for us, and got two very different stories of people on different teams now. But yeah, I think that was my biggest takeaway, and yeah, like it's crazy. Like we get to go down to Florida this early in the season, so it's going to be warm, but it's not going to be crazy. We still go to Orlando in June. So
that's some still some bullshit.
Yeah, but that's my main takeaway was the thing about Campana.
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely big. Yeah, it is definitely big. But I'll say this: that they have guys who can score goals, but they don't have guys who can give them the ball to score those goals. And so that's one thing we'll definitely take a look at there. But Justin, what are your takeaways from Pieter's interview there?
So I think I can understand his the defense isn't as big of a liability. That being said, it was Montreal who, at this point, my predictions of them being second to last isn't that crazy, because at this point, I don't know how bad they're going to free fall. Like, they got no spine, and there was not a lot going on. I think I did, because me being the MLS nerd I am, I did watch the highlights, and I can agree with his assessment that their midfield goes through the middle, and they like to play through the channels. But that's kind of where the Union specialize in choking out the middle channels and forcing it out wide. And if they force it out wide, the Union are dealing with those crosses all day. I mean, what outside of one deflected cross on a cold surface, the Union, I rarely see them get beat with those kind of plays. And if you force it out wide, you create more likeliness for your team to get back. Whereas you go down the middle, you're getting better angles and better chances. So I think if that was the biggest thing. He said, if you shut down that midfield and force them wide, then you're going to create some issues.
Okay. All right. I think we're here. But real quick, I just wanted to answer a couple of these comments here. One world, one goal. What city is your fam from, Barcelona? So my family I have family in Medellin. I do. My dad moved from Medellin to Cali when he was 13, but most of my family now resides in Cali. But yeah, I do. I am familiar with Diego Serna, doing some great stuff. He's a great advocate for Colombian football, as we say. Number one in the power rankings. Union came a long way since LPP woke up and snuck down to the Union play. When did I sneak down to watch the Union play? I don't recall that one, but yeah, we've come a long way. That is for sure. All right, let's get into so guys, do we think the lineup will change at all? I personally don't think it'll change.
I would be shocked. I mean,
Right.
Starting
Maybe
lineup.
Harriel?
Well, no, I think starting lineup will stay the same. I think the only thing would be rotating in for players that may be getting starting minutes against Alianza on Tuesday.
Okay.
But that's in the second half. I mean, I'd have to think. Like, I don't think they're going to sit anyone just because of that game. But we'll see.
Oh, gotcha, Kyle. Yeah, so I get what you're saying. So the first ever Union match against Seattle, I had to sneak downstairs to watch it because I had a bedtime. There was no TV during the week growing up. But yes, Kyle, that is really dope that you remember that story. I do appreciate that. We have come a long way. My mom allows me to watch Union matches now, so we're good, Kyle. We're good on that one. All right, gentlemen, you guys ready for some predictions?
Absolutely.
Let's do it, guys. Let's do it. Justin, start off with you, my man. What does the angry translator think will happen on Saturday night?
I think Jim is going to want the team to get off to a better start. I don't naturally think Miami is going to punish you if you have a slow 20 minutes, but I don't think that you want to make that a bit of a habit. Choking the midfield is going to be important, and I think having Leon and Brujo kind of on the same page as they usually are will be key. That being said, I think it's going to be a tight one. I initially had 3-1, but I'm feeling more 2-1. I do think though that the Union go up 2-0, and Miami makes it interesting with a later goal. But I think this is another one where the Union aren't the best team for 90 minutes, but they put it away when it matters and they ride out the game. So 2-1 Union victory is what I foresee in Fort Lauderdale.
Isn't it crazy, guys? Like, I know it's like a copycat league, but there's more diamonds in the league. There's more two forwards playing in the league now. It's crazy the amount of stuff that we have been able to start here. But Tim, prediction: what do you think will happen on Saturday?
I'm sort of along the lines with Justin. I think the Union start better in the game. I don't see how Miami's going to score. Like you said, like they have Joseph, but it's like, where's the service going to really come from if they try to play through the middle, like, and they play balls out to the channels? Like, that's, like Justin said, where the Union thrives. So I don't see Miami scoring, and I see the Union scoring. So I say 2-0. And I think it's either a Carranza brace or Carranza and Ua scoring a goal this week.
Oh, okay. All right. I like it, guys. Listen, we got soccer back. So that's really what I'm definitely happy for. But I do agree with you guys that I feel like this is a game where the Union should absolutely win. Dominate for the most part. I don't know. I think Miami has some fight within them. But overall, if as I say, like if the Union play their style of soccer, I just don't see how Miami can slow them down. So I do have the Union winning as well. I predicted a 2-1 victory as well. So I think it's gonna be a fun Saturday night, gentlemen. But guys, that's gonna do it for another episode of DOOP by the River. I hope we can talk next week about a win. So next week's gonna be a little difficult. We'll see what happens, but we obviously have 2 matches next week, so we'll try to get you guys as much coverage as possible. But make sure you guys are subscribed, or make sure you have Philly Sports Network as a favorite, because we're gonna have some articles for you guys. So make sure you guys read. Of course, make sure you guys are subscribed here. I will always have you here for any updates with videos or any video content here for sure. But ladies and gentlemen, it's gonna do it for another episode of DOOP by the River. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe on Philly's YouTube channel. Make sure you guys subscribe to DOOP by the River on all podcast platforms. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Tim Lovinguth. That is Justin Curtin, Angry Translator Friedberg. Of course, I go by the name of El Parcero Philly, and we're telling you guys to DOOP on. Talk to you guys soon. Be my